Hi, everybody, and welcome to week 3 of Social and Economic Justice 2. This week we're going to be focusing on assessing communities' needs and assets. And a lot of the material that we will be covering this week is going to be critical to the projects that you are working on in your dyads. In this video, I am just going to walk you through the readings and the assignments for this week. So let's start with our objectives and readings. Our objectives this week are that you will first be able to describe community problems, community needs, and community assets. And secondly, that you'll develop some skills in community assessment, including secondary analysis and community mapping. Your required readings for this week, you will see here, are broken down. You have 3 sets of readings, and these all come from the University of Kansas's the Community Toolbox, which we've already done some readings from in the first 2 weeks. But in this week, you're going to be reading 3 sets of articles. The first set will deal with community needs and assets and resources. The second set will deal with the identification of community problems. And the third set will deal with developing community interventions. And you want to make sure you read all of these before you work on the discussion posts for this week, because these will help you in thinking those through. So let's jump to the assignments. There also is a set of overview slides for week 3 that I would also ask you to read through. They cover a lot of ground. We start out this week by looking at some of the theoretical frameworks around community needs and assessment, and then get more into the nitty-gritty of how we begin thinking about conducting an actual assessment. And that you can read about in these slides. As far as your discussion post assignments for this week, you have 2 posts. And these posts this week are really helping to set you up for your written assignments 2, 3, and 4 that you're doing with your partner or partners. So as you're working on the discussion posts this week, you can certainly consult with your partner or partners, and should, but you are posting individual posts to each of these prompts this week. So this is the first post, and it deals with unmet community needs questions. So again, before you complete this post, make sure that you complete the readings for the week on community needs and community problems. And in order to be able to understand the needs and issues of the community that you and your dyad partners are focusing on for your community needs and services assessment assignments, it's going to be critical that you gather input from community members themselves about the needs of the community. So in order to get you thinking about that, in this post, you're going to identify potential community members who could talk about your selected community's needs and strengths. You don't, at this point, need to actually interview these people. This discussion forum is really just to help you start thinking and brainstorming about who some key informants might be for your community needs analysis that's due next week. So for your initial post, you're going to complete the following 4 parts. First, in 1 or 2 sentences, give the name of your community and the problem area you are hoping to address in your project. So you've all already emailed me the name of your community. You're also going to need to, this week, and that's a separate assignment that we'll get to, send me the problem area that you're hoping to address in your project. So you'll list that. Secondly, you're going to identify 2 people who are knowledgeable about the community and problem. Ideally, these would be actual people, so maybe you've done some research, maybe you're interested in homelessness in Philadelphia, and you've done some research on organizations that are working in Philadelphia to address homelessness, and maybe you've identified, maybe a staff person in one of those agencies who might be good to talk to. So ideally, you would be identifying an actual person who exists, but the person's title is sufficient. So maybe you haven't gotten quite as specific as identifying the actual name of the person, but you have some idea of the type of person you would want to interview. So their title would be sufficient in that case. So maybe you want to interview the executive director of an organization serving the homeless. That the person's title would be sufficient if you don't know the name. Third, you're going to develop 3 specific questions you would ask each of these people that would provide useful insights into the needs of your community. And then finally, you're going to include the reasons why you think these people and questions would be critical. And you want to include at least 2 references from this week to the readings to support your thinking. Okay, so again, just to be clear, you're identifying 2 people who are knowledgeable about the community and its problem who you might want to interview. And ideally, these would be actual people, but title is sufficient. And then you're going to develop 3 specific questions you would ask each of these people. And finally, include the reasons why you think these people and questions would be critical. So again, you may consult with your dyad partner on this, but you each need to write your own initial post, and the questions and the people that you identify must be different in each partner's post. Okay, so you're each going through these steps. And that'll be due Thursday, and then by Sunday you will respond to 2 classmates. And in your responses, you want to think about other persons or questions that would expand and support your classmates' work. So that is the first discussion post for this week. All right. Second discussion post is going to deal with community assets. So before you complete this post, make sure you read the set of articles on community assets and resources. All communities, just like when we talk about clients having strengths and assets, all communities have strengths and assets. So understanding these strengths and assets is going to be critical to understanding the community as a whole. For this post, you're going to be identifying possible strengths, assets, and resources in your selected community, and you can use these then in your community needs analysis that's due in week 4. So for your initial post, you want to develop a list with a minimum of 5 critical pieces of information needed for understanding the strengths of your community. For each piece of information or variable, include a data source or methods you will use to get this information. At this point, you do not need to collect the information, you just need to identify it. Possible strengths are going to definitely vary by community. And in thinking about possible strengths in your community, you want to consider the question, what pieces of information could tell you that your particular community is strong? So rely on your knowledge of the community as well as the readings that we've read in the course up to this point. Do not include demographic information on the list of community strengths. You want to be more specific than that. So what could be possible indicators of strength in your selected community? And again, the readings for this week will help guide you in thinking about what some of these sort of variables or indicators of strength might be, and help you to think about where you might find this information, what type of data sources are available. So again, you want to look for what could be possible indicators of strength in your selected community. Again, you may consult with your dyad partner on this, but you are each writing your own initial post, and the 5 critical pieces of information must be different in each partner's post. Okay? And this post also is due Thursday, and then you will post your follow-up response by Sunday, 2 responses to classmates, thinking about other pieces of information that would expand and support your classmates' work. If you have any questions about either of these 2 discussion posts, please email me or post in the Ask the Instructor forum. I will be glad to answer any questions. Again, I know for many of you this is a different way of focusing on community problems and issues, so I anticipate that some of you will have questions, and that's absolutely okay. Or if you need clarification of any of the requirements, please feel free to email me. I'll be glad to provide those. Finally, the last assignment that you have this week is a dyad assignment. So last week, you and your partner shared with me what community you were going to focus on. By the end of Thursday this week, one member of your dyad should send me an engage email with the community problem that you and your partner will be examining for assignments 2, 3, and 4. So you need to, now that you've selected your community, you need to identify a problem in that community that you're going to be focusing on. Make sure in your email that you include both partners' names along with the community problem. So just as an example, say your group is looking at homelessness in Philadelphia. Say that's the community you've selected, the homeless community in Philadelphia. Perhaps through some of this research that you've begun to do, one of the problems that you see that that community has is lack of access to shelters, right? Not enough shelter beds to meet the needs of the population. So that's an example of a community problem. Again, if anyone has any questions about this, feel free to email me or post in the Ask the Instructor forum. And I really look forward to reading everyone's posts and responses. And again, keep in mind that all of these assignments this week are helping you to develop assignment 2 and also assignments 3 and 4. So each of these is sort of a step in that process and helping to sort of break down those assignments for you into more manageable pieces. So again, I look forward to reading everyone's posts, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and have a great week, and I will check back in soon.